offseason objectives. We wanted to improve, get more depth at center field. We wanted to add starting pitching, relief pitching, and then try to get an impact bat or two if we can in the middle of the lineup. Obviously, Michael Taylor's ability to play center field with power, um, uh, raw power that we think can turn into more production. But most importantly, his ability to play center field. I believe he stole 23 or 24 bases 2 years ago or a year ago, whenever that was. And obviously, yeah, 2 years ago, I guess, 2018, 20. And so, Rusty Kuntz identified Michael as well as a player that we ought to be in pursuit of. And so it's a 1-year deal, and we're happy that he's going to be a part of the organization.
Are you looking at him as a starter, or is that something that's going to be decided by Mike and his crew?
Mike makes out the lineup, but we're going to give Michael Taylor a lot of opportunity to play every day. But we feel like I said, we have two high quality center fielders, on this team at this point in time. And then Whit Merrifield can play center field as well. Cordero's played some center field in the past, but we expect Michael Taylor to certainly get first crack at that.
And I assume that the Mike Minor deal is just pending the physical. How does he fit into the 2021 plans?
Well, there's not a whole lot I'm going to say about that, Flanny, just because, there's more things that need to be buttoned up, if you will, before we can officially, make any type of an announcement. But, we are looking for more depth with our starting pitching experience in that role, especially with the young starters that we have on the horizon. We don't want to put the workload entirely on a young group. We're looking for guys that can give us possibly 200 innings or so, especially in this current climate that we're in. And so we're going to continue to be aggressive with starting pitching, this off season.
Go ahead, guys.
Dayton is with Taylor. Is that a guy that you guys have had a history with? Just his profile seems like the type of guy that you guys may have had eyes on in the past, just with his athleticism, power, that sort of thing.
You're right, Lynn. We've had our eyes on him. He fits, kind of what we look for in center field, and the ability to impact that position. To be able to cover this outfield gives us a competitive advantage. There's very few teams that show up in here for 81 dates that can cover this center field. And, we understand the importance of that. So a guy like Michael Taylor, yes, has been on, our, just on our radar rather. So.
When you've talked about when you talked about adding potentially to the outfield at the beginning of the offseason, you also mentioned the need for some more on base guys, and you mentioned his swing and miss. Is that something that you just feel really confident you guys may be able to address and improve? Was it one of those things where you guys were sort of taking a look at the market and maybe had to give a little bit to for the potential there? How are you looking at him, because he doesn't necessarily fit that?
Yeah, both, Lynn. I think both. I think we certainly recognize, some of the ways that, Michael needs to improve offensively. He understands that as well. We believe there's some upside there. But the ability to play that position is really, really important. And how it factors in throughout 162 games. And so, but we're not done with trying to add, to our lineup with, more guys that, can get on base and give us a professional at bat. And we do think Michael will continue to get better. We don't think he's reached his ceiling offensively by any means. But I think you explained it very well with us needing to give a little bit with what we need in that position. So center field and catcher, center field in this ballpark and the catching position are the two positions here with our organization that, you know, we've got to be a little more defensive minded, in our opinion. So.
Did, when you look at the center field and catcher with the production you get from a guy like Salvi, does that maybe also give you a little bit more room to
Yeah,
look defensive?
no, it does. It does. And, you know, look, we tried to, we desire to have a complete player everywhere on the diamond. We don't stop working until we're able to achieve that. But there are certain qualities that need to stand out for certain positions, and center field is one of them.
Dayton, how much does his championship experience, being in that championship environment, play a role, just add to what you're getting here?
I think it's important, Alec. I really do. The fact that, you know, you've been in a clubhouse where the expectation and ultimately the result is to win a world championship and have won a world championship. I think that creates just an urgency and intensity level that I think is important. A no nonsense type of atmosphere when it's time to, you know, to play. And I'm not saying that, you know, you can't be loose. Of course you can be loose. You need to be loose. You need to have fun. Baseball is a fun game, but I think that urgency, that attitude, that no nonsense approach is what's required when you're going to win ultimately a world championship. And he's been a part of that.
In your conversations with him, or the staff's conversations, what stood out just in terms of his motivation, maybe?
Very, very honest evaluator, very intelligent, a strong desire to be an everyday player on a championship team, comfort level, obviously, with our organization, with Mike Matheny, comfort level that he had with some of our people had with him, some of the history. I think he appreciated the fact that we've admired his abilities and upside through the years and believed in him as a player.
Dayton, does the fact that you know, you made this move to add him, you mentioned still potentially adding more bats. Does this addition mean that more likely that you guys might add somewhere else aside from the outfield, or is that still a strong possibility that you'd look at more outfielders?
Well, both. I mean, as we know with Whit Merrifield and Hunter Dozier's tremendous flexibility and versatility and willingness to be flexible, opens up, you know, a lot of different opportunities to our team, for our team. And so, but I mean, we're focused on, you know, kind of a middle of the order bat or continuing to be able to lengthen out our lineup a little bit.
Dayton, as you know, over the past few years, it seems as if the first few months of the offseason are pretty stagnant. So to make a move in November, are you guys, is this an aggressive move in your opinion? I know it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I think you kind of cut out, Josh, but I think I understand your question. Yeah, I think whenever you go into an off season, you target certain players. This season was no different, and we're fortunate that John Sherman's been very supportive of what we're trying to accomplish. And, you know, we've targeted certain players and they've kind of targeted us as well. Um, we were quick to have discussions with players about players, and we've been aggressive within our means, and so that's how I would portray it.
Dayton, just follow up on what Josh was asking. What are your financial means right now? I know there's been some concern about non-tenders or what you do with Soler. Where are you guys right now in terms of budget?
Well, we're more focused right now, Flanny, on who the players are, how they make us better. We always look at the economics, the economic evaluation, the financial evaluation is a part of what we do, not only for 2021, but for the future, as we look at how this roster plays out, through the next 3 to 4 years. And so, we're mindful of that, but currently we're just focused on the players that make us better. And, we're talking about, what we can do financially. And for some players, they remain on the board because of their understanding and willingness to keep themselves available to us based on some of those economic discussions, and some have not. We've had to eliminate, but that's the case in every season. But right now, we're just focused on evaluating the talent and seeing what we can execute.
And also with adding Taylor to the outfield equation, that obviously pushes Witt more toward right. Are you getting more and more convinced that Hunter Dozier? I know you love his versatility and Witt's versatility. Is it going to be more him playing first base in your mind going forward?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think it's safe to say. He played a lot more infield over the last 2 years than he has outfield. So we understand that, but we're not going to close the door on his potential to play the outfield as well. Look, opening day is several months away. You're constantly making adjustments to your roster, not only throughout the off season, but during spring training and, once the season begins. And so, we're going to continue to stay open-minded to where Hunter plays and feel like that, he's going to be a big part of our team, regardless whether he's in the outfield, first base, or third base.
And this is
Do you feel like you have 3 center fielders now, including Bubba?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
We feel that way. And Cordero as well. We've got 4 guys that could play out there. And Hunter could play out there if we needed him as well. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, this is sort of like a more of a big picture question, but this is going to be a very strange off season, no in-person winter meetings. How do you see it playing out? How do you think it's going to be different for you guys?
Well, right now it feels the same, truthfully. Only the fact that, we just haven't had an entire season of evaluations and watch how players have kind of dealt with the rhythm of the season. But the discussions that we have, David, for current players, what our roster looks like in the future, those discussions have been very similar. We've never been big players in free agency anyway. We focus on our own talent and how we can transition them to the major leagues and how we can focus on making them better or providing them opportunity to get better. And so those are the things that we continue to discuss.
Hey, and just following up on Flanny's question there, just in terms of finances, does additions that you guys make, obviously this one, and I know you can't talk about minor, but are those additions that you guys make going to potentially force your hand at this tender deadline where maybe it force you guys to have to non-tender somebody, just in terms of clearing space and making money available?
It could. Yeah, it could. I mean, it's, we're still, I mean, Jin Wong and Scott Sharp are working the phones constantly, evaluating the industry. We got a lot of balls in the air right now, different discussions, evaluating our own guys, continuing to discuss their expectations financially. And, it's likely that we move on from certain players because their financial expectation doesn't align with what we can do in other areas based on this market. And so we're looking at that. I don't know how it'll unfold, Lynn, but we're looking at different things.
Along those same lines, I think there's an expectation that there will be a lot of guys who hit that market because of the non-tender. I mean, are you guys anticipating once that group of players hits the market being aggressive, in terms of maybe pulling from that group as well?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we've talked about this. I mean, one of the criticisms that we receive and I receive, and I understand it, is we're not as transactional as we need to be. And small market teams historically need to be very transactional. We've been hesitant to do that at times. We believe in our players. Sometimes, we've stayed with some of our players a little too long. I get that. I understand that. I'm not making excuses for that. I'm not sure how much that'll change. But, perhaps we will be a little more transactional over this next, 1 to 5 year period. But the players got to force our hand. So if we move on from a current player, I mean, somewhere, whether internally or outside, I mean, we've got to have strong alternatives that make sense.
So cutting down on the strikeouts is a huge thing. I like to be more consistent in the outfield with my throwing to bases. I feel like that can be a weapon for me. So just making sure, I'm taking care of my arm and putting myself in a position to make plays like that.
Go ahead, guys.
Michael, first of all, welcome.
Hello.
And when you talk about sort of the need to put the ball in play a little bit more, I mean, for you, is that something that you feel like you were working on, more recently in terms of like making adjustments to swing or approach, or is that something that's just been sort of continuous for you that you've been trying to make some changes there?
Continuous, but more recently I made some mechanical changes to my swing to try to make more contact and be more consistent. A lot of it is timing. Before I had a leg kick, which gave me a lot of rhythm, and, a leg kick can bring some good things, but I felt like it made me a little streaky as far as timing. And so getting rid of that is, an effort to make more contact, and then just an approach and a mindset, going up there and taking a 70% swing or whatever that number is for me, to where I can be consistent and put the ball in play is, far greater than running into a few balls here and there.
And how recent were those changes? I just asked because I know I've heard a lot of guys talk about this shortened season was sort of a tough year to show any sort of adjustments you've made, and especially with the layoff and just the disjointedness of it.
Well, it's been about 2 years, but this year I felt like I made big strides just in, getting comfortable after going from a leg kick for so long, basically as long as I can remember, to no stride. For a while, honestly, in that first year, I felt like I was stuck, almost hitting in mud or cement, where I just, I didn't feel like I had any rhythm or any kind of momentum going into my swing. It was just from a standstill and launching, and, that can bring other problems also. So, it's been a bit of a long process, but this year I really felt like it was my swing instead of just something that I'm, trying to adopt.
Michael, Dayton mentioned that you had known Pedro Grafal and Rene Francisco maybe a little bit. What experience do you have with those guys?
Well, I played in the Dominican League winter ball a few years ago, and Pedro was the manager. Rene was the GM, and I was only there for a little bit, but the little time I was around him, it was great. I actually, over the All-Star break, rode to the Capitol with Pedro, so I got to talk to him quite a bit on that road trip. And just playing for him was a real pleasure. A lot of that same culture that I think is built over at in Kansas City, he brought to the Dominican, and just letting guys go out there and play and believing in guys, and obviously still expecting a high level of baseball, but just having that family culture.
Congrats. Welcome.
Thank you.
Michael, I was hoping you could expand on that culture that you're talking about, because I would assume that most organizations like to present that kind of culture. What makes Dayton's presentation better or different?
Well, I can't speak on other teams. I've been with the Nationals my whole career, and I can't really speak on the exact culture that you guys have over there. I'm just on the outside looking in right now, but just in our conversation, you get a sense of how genuine he is. He's a very honest person, just a stand-up guy, and everything that he is saying, I wholeheartedly believe. And it might not be any different than anywhere else, but it is somewhere that I want to be.
And then Alec brought up Pedro and Rene. Any other relationships in the clubhouse? Any of the guys that are here that you go back with?
Yeah, there's a few guys that I've played against. Obviously, I saw a lot of Franco when he was with the Phillies. I played against Witt in the minor leagues, and Witt actually sent me a text when it came out, and I appreciate that. So, I'm looking forward to playing with a lot of these guys, and there'll be a lot of new faces, but that's part of the fun of signing somewhere else, just making new relationships.
Witt might be trying to set you up to hustle you on the golf course, so be careful.
Yeah, he wouldn't need to hustle me. That'd be easy money for him right now.
He just won a tournament out at Pebble Beach, so he's hot right now. I'd stay away.
Okay, is he a scratch golfer?
He's pretty close.
I'll be on his team then.
That's the right partner.
And Michael,
Go ahead.
how important was and Dayton mentioned that the idea of giving you the opportunity to play on a pretty much everyday basis, or at least that's the idea going into this. How important was that in your discussions with him? And if I remember right, there's been some times in the past where you've had different roles, right, in Washington. So how important was the idea of getting the chance to play every day?
Obviously, everyone wants to play every day, and for me, in our conversations, I told him that I want to go out there and earn it. I'm not expected to be given anything. So, it was nice to hear, but at the end of the day, I know I have to perform. So, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm just going to take it one day at a time and go out there and try to play my game.
Is there, and I know you said that everybody wants that opportunity, but do you feel like, that everyday role would maybe bring something more out of you than maybe we've seen in the past, or just in terms of the consistency? It seems like that might go hand in hand. I don't know if that's what you're looking at also.
Definitely. I think when you can have consistent at bats, it's easier to kind of get up to game speed. When you're playing every few days or sporadically, it can be tough to be on time at the plate. And that's kind of what brought about this swing change. It was out of necessity when I wasn't getting everyday at bats. Just makes it easier to go out there and compete. And I think with consistent at bats, it'll be even easier. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think it allows me to do a lot of things else on the field outside of hitting. Just getting a rhythm on the bases, also getting comfortable out there, and stealing bags or playing defense. When when you have limited opportunities, you kind of sometimes fall in that trap of trying to do everything in one day. You want to go 4 for 4 every day. And, when you're playing every day, or you're going to play, or you're going to get the at bats, it allows you kind of to relax and fall into, a spot where you just go out there and play and not try to do too much.